Just before New Year's, my wife started acting weird. She has BPD, so I thought it was just a stage. She had damaged her phone, and the phone provider was running a deal that you can trade in a damaged phone for a new one. So me, being the husband I am, tried to get my wife a new phone. When I'm doing so, I needed to trade in her damaged phone and get a new one. She was excited. When I asked for the IMEI number, she kind of freaked out and told me never mind about it. At this point, I was already in my account with the provider in the store. I thought that's weird, but then I seen the crazy amount of text and calls on my account starting around Christmas time. So I confronted her and asked her nicely what's going on, because she doesn't really talk to people. She told me she was talking to a friend from years ago. I asked if it's a guy or girl, and she told me it's a girl. I asked the name, and she told me the girl's name is Prospective. I said to her, "What's the name again?" And she said, "Leslie." I said, "All right, you're acting weird," and she called me and said I need to come home immediately and talk to her. I'm busy with things, so I don't get home for another 2 hours. When I get home, she's waiting in the car for me. She tells me she wants a divorce. I tell her what's going on, and she said she's been unhappy for a while. Okay, cool. Literally yesterday, you were asking me to be intimate with you. Now you're acting like this? So we agree. We'll give it 3 days, then talk again. 3 days come and go, and everything is normal. New Year's Eve hits, and she wants to spend time with me. I say okay, and we discuss Valentine's Day. She said she already has canceled our plans and is going out of state to see her mom. I'm like, well, we just had this talk. You're being loving and sweet like before and giving no indication that you're unhappy. The following days, she goes and sits at the gym until 3 to 4 a.m. talking to this Leslie person on the phone. Days pass, and I sit her down and tell her, look, I still love you. Let's make things work. She says, I love you, and we agree to go on a date this past Sunday. This was Friday night. Saturday, my mom texts me asking to go out to eat. I say, yeah, you good if I bring my wife? My mom says, yes, absolutely, bring her. So throughout the day we talk. Then before I leave work, she asks me to send her the text of me and my mom talking. Long story short, I know funny with the length of this post. She says she's not going because my mom didn't invite her directly. I told her my mom loves her and she just needs to calm down, and she stops replying. I get off work and call and text her and she just ignores me. I get home and ask what's going on, and she said, leave me the F alone, don't talk to me anymore. So I leave her alone and text her a half hour later saying she's loved and supported. She tells me I'm attacking her and I need to make an emergency therapy appointment, and I will do that. She packs some things then leaves. I go out to stop her while she's in her car, and she tells me how mean I am and how I corner her and I'm just a terrible husband. So she leaves and I go get food for myself. She calls me while I'm eating and asks me to come home and talk. I say okay. I get home and I'm not saying anything. I go sit on my bed, and she comes and hugs and kisses me and tells me she still wants to go on our date the next day and acts normal. Next day comes, we get ready and we go get breakfast. As soon as we start sitting down, she tells me we don't make enough money, and if she wants to process in our relationship, I need to get a better job. I tell her we make more than enough money, it's just her spending habits that make it so we don't. She says either way we need more money. I just let it go and we go on about our day. We eventually go to see a movie. When we're in the movie that she picked, she gets a phone call and says she has to take it. She leaves the movie for 10 to 15 minutes, and when she gets back, I'm clearly irritated. She told me her friend called her to tell her she's cheating on her husband. I'm like, that's really important when we're trying to reconnect. She then gets mad and calls me controlling. We get done with the movie and she says she's hungry again. So we go get her food. Everything is fine. Then we get to the car and she asked me if I thought about getting a better job since we talked in the morning. I said, no, we haven't been apart. I haven't thought about it. She then says, this is why she can't be with me. Then goes on again to say I'm controlling because the movie. We go home, and everything is fine. Monday comes around, and I see my therapist. He says the messages I sent show open communication, and I handled it right. Again, days pass where she says she loves me and thinks about me all day and all this other stuff. Continues to try and be intimate with me, but says, don't get the wrong idea. One time after being denied, she says she'll just find someone who has to be intimate with. Fast forward through multiple talks of, I love you and I do, and don't want to be with you. 1/16, she goes out with her friend. I knew something was up by the way she was talking. Come to find out she was on a date with a guy. We agreed we wouldn't talk to other people while living together, and prior in the day I asked if she was talking to people, and her response was, no, I'm not. If you ask something crazy like that, again I'm blocking you. So I was like, okay, whatever. I get home at around 8, and she's still not there. She left at 5. 11 comes around, and I'm like, what's going on? Where are you? Where she's at? It's late. And at that point, I'm irritated and done. I file for divorce and tell her she needs to start looking for a place to live. She gets home almost immediately and starts being rude and aggressive. I've never really yelled at her, so when I respond in a deeper tone, she starts crying. Asking me how I can be so cruel to her, I told her she's been treating me like I'm worthless. She says no, just because I don't want to be with you anymore doesn't mean that. We keep talking, and she tells me she wishes we can be together and she wants to just give in and be together. I say, we can. You just need to work through a lot of things going on with you right now. Then she reversed and said again, I don't want to be with you, but we can have basic human respect. I agree. I told her she can stay here, but not if she's going to talk to other people. She assured me again she's not and tells me it's hurtful that my mom and I both have asked that and she'd never do anything like that to me, and cries more. Next morning comes, yesterday now, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna message this number she's been talking to. Turns out it is a guy. She's been going to the gym all night for hours talking to this guy on the phone. At work when she says she's too busy to reply. So I call her and tell her it's messed up. She lied and tell her I know she was on a date last night with even another guy. Her response? So what if I was? I say I'm disgusted by your behavior, then hang up. She calls me non-stop and I block her because now I'm at work. She continues to call my job and tells me it's not okay that I messaged someone she's been talking to. The messages above is our conversation directly after. She blocks me and doesn't talk to me for the rest of our work days. She gets home around 7, and I get home at 7:30. I tell her like, what's going on? This isn't normal, you need to reach out for help. She then calls her mom and tells her to repeat what I just said, and I tell her mom that she needs help, and she says, hear that, mom? Her mom says yeah, and tells her to call the police on me for harassment. So she calls the police and tells them I'm harassing her. The police come and ask me to leave for the night. So I grab a few things and leave, and then she calls me telling me she needs money. I say, okay, I'll send over money. I send money over, and she asks why I changed the camera passwords. I tell her I was trying to log in, and it won't let me. She tells me I shouldn't have changed the passwords, and she needs access for the night. I tell her, okay, I need the code from her number. She tells me, forget it, and hangs up. I now can't access my security cameras, and when I texted her, I need the code and worthless. I love her, and I wanted to spend my life with her. How can someone that cares about you treat you like this? Update on this. Since my last post, a lot has happened. I wrote my last post around a week prior to posting it here. Unfortunately, things keep getting worse. Last Monday, she told me she never wanted to talk to me again over call because she can't trust me because all I do is lie, she said. For whatever reason, the next day I'm at work, after saying she can't talk to me on the phone the night before, she spam calls me. I think something is wrong. I answer and she asks if I seen her text. I say no, I've been at work. She said I'm at the hospital, I need money ASAP to pay for it. I tell her okay, how much do you need? She says $150. I say I have $75 and that's all my money. So I send her that. I asked her later if she's okay. She kept telling me not worry about her, like she wanted me to worry without saying it. Eventually, I give up trying to figure out why she's there. That night, she texted me saying she sent the money back. She wasn't supposed to send it until she got paid. Then she called because I didn't answer the text to tell me. She's on my insurance, so I looked it up, and she never went to the hospital, despite telling me she was there and needed the money now, because it I have text as proof. Over the next few days, she calls multiple times with nothing useful to say, to keep saying she's going to come get her stuff, but never does. One night, she asked if she can come when I got off of work. I said yes, but I need to handle a few things first. So like an hour after I get off. She calls me an hour and a half after I get off asking why I didn't tell her to come. I told her that she could come at any point after that hour mark. She was upset, but whatever. Days pass, she calls, and it brings us to last Thursday. I tell her we need to sit down and discuss our situation for money and stuff like that. She freaks out, cussing me out saying we can handle this over text. I tell her we cannot. She blocks my number, then calls my mom to tell my mom I won't leave her alone and she wants nothing to do with me. My mom, who isn't smart at all, believes her and tells me my wife just wants to get her stuff and leave. I tell my mom she's being manipulated by my wife, and my mom doesn't believe me. So, I send my mom screenshots of all the calls I get from her. My mom confronts her about it, and she goes crazy. I told her my mom doesn't need to be involved if girl ain't that. She tells me she does, because she's not safe around me, and I'm not the person she thought she knew. I told her I didn't do anything wrong, and she said I shared intimate details with my mom about us. I said, how? She said I showed her that my wife kept calling me. She then goes on to say that I was controlling because I didn't let her talk to her friends. I didn't respond. What she was referring to is she has a list of guys shed call started dating that I'm not okay with her talking to these people anymore, and she agreed. She then said she doesn't care about me, just my mom and sisters. It's funny because a few months ago she told me she wishes my mom would die so we didn't have to deal with her anymore. We argue over text for an hour. She said she won't pay any debt that we've gotten in our relationship. I tell her it's up to the judge, and she said no one can make her pay, and I'm threatening her. She eventually blocks me. Next day she comes, gets her stuff with my mom here. I'm waiting in my car. I listen through the cameras and she lies to my mom about cheating. I go in and just help things get done. We get 5 minutes alone and I tell her like I can't handle anymore. I'm so depressed. I start crying because now I can't even afford my bills. She asks to hug me. I say yes. We talk another minute or two, then she gets the rest of her stuff and leaves. She called me 3 more times that day after. Once to ask if she left something, again to ask if she's on my Costco card still, and another to tell me she cares but don't take it the wrong way. She said that multiple times. Next morning, yesterday, she calls early and she's never up this early. To check on me, I end the conversation as soon as possible. She also called this morning. She also has a phone in my name. She said she'd give it to my mom Monday and didn't. She said her new phone hadn't got here when I know it did. She has my email as her backup, so I see she signed into her new phone last week. More lies. Feeling down. There was more in that time that happened I might write about later. Right now I'm hardly getting by. Still not eating or sleeping much. A lot of nightmares about her. I just want this pain to be over and to be happy. I'm really sorry you're going through this. It sounds like an incredibly painful and emotionally draining situation. Dealing with a partner who has borderline personality disorder (BPD) can be especially challenging, as their emotions and behaviors can be intense and unpredictable. However, it's important to recognize that while BPD can explain certain behaviors, it doesn't excuse harmful actions like lying, manipulation, or infidelity. It's clear that you've been through a lot, and it's okay to feel hurt, betrayed, and overwhelmed. But remember, you're not alone, and there are people and resources available to help you through this. Take things one day at a time, and don't hesitate to reach out for support when you need it. You deserve to be treated with respect, honesty, and love. While this chapter of your life has been painful, it's also an opportunity to rebuild and create a happier, healthier future for yourself. Stay strong and take care of yourself. Please show OP some support, guys. His username is ZealousIdealYak7796.